Discover the touching moment. My daughter-in-law exposed a hidden truth behind her wedding band. Sarah's chest tightened as the words echoed in her mind. Hidden truth? Emily couldn't possibly mean what she thought she did. The air in her quaint Midwestern town felt suddenly heavy, laced with confrontation. In the past few months leading up to Jack's wedding, Sarah had poured every ounce of her energy into planning, dreaming of seeing her son, her pride and joy, tied to the woman he loved. Each detail meticulously aligned, the flowers, the venue, even the seating arrangements. This was meant to be a celebration, a moment pulsating with happiness. Yet now, an unsettling tension gnawed at her. A hurricane lurked underneath the calm surface. What are you saying, Em? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady as her world tilted. Emily's eyes were resolute, but the tremor of uncertainty rippled beneath, mirroring Sarah's own turmoil. The past was clawing its way back into their lives just when it was supposed to be swept aside, treated with the respect it had never afforded Sarah's lineage. The rich heritage of Emily's family had once inflicted deep wounds on Sarah's own ancestors. Would the looming wedding really fulfill Jack's dreams, or would it upend everything Sarah had fought for? In the quiet of her thoughts, dread settled heavily. She could feel the weight of her family's dignity pressing against her. The admiration she held so tightly began to fray. Was she really prepared to welcome a future entwined with a lineage that bore no small part of suffering? A moment of pressure tightened like a vice grip around her heart. This wasn't merely about Jack and Emily's love. This was the potential unraveling of two intertwined legacies. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The fragile balance they struck. A truce around wedding preparations was suddenly dissolving. In that very moment, Emily decided to wear her late grandmother's necklace, the beautiful heirloom shimmering with echoes of love and legacy. A chilling rush coursed through Sarah's veins, forcing her to clutch her own hands. A symbol of unification? Or a reminder that all that glitters carries its shadows, unseen but deeply felt? Each glimmer, each sparkle was blotting out the dark heaviness of the past, yet deep in her gut, Sarah questioned if they could really build something new without first confronting their complex narratives. As rehearsal day dawned, dread bubbled beneath the surface, mounting questions eclipsed joy. Emily's reflection in the mirror revealed swirlings of uncertainty written all over her face. Could they truly move forward while buried truths festered in the shadows? Sarah observed, holding her breath, wrestling with her instinct to shield her child while understanding Emily's struggle. A girl trapped beneath the weight of a past she never forged. Things hung suspended as they prepared for the most significant day of their lives, neither fully ready for what lay ahead. Just as Sarah set off toward the future, a blaring realization washed over her how intertwined their fates had unknowingly become. It was a tension-laden embrace between joy and anguish, connections strung between separate worlds, all ready to collapse under the pressure of history's grip. As the wedding approached, one question loomed larger than all others. Could they truly honor a love built atop the memories of conflict? Alternatively, would they falter at the very threshold of their shared dreams? Just when uncertainty seemed intolerable, a sudden disruption shattered their fragile arrangement, forcing them to confront not just each other, but the meaning of their own identities and the heavy desolation of their legacies. Sarah could hardly concentrate as the rehearsal dinner unfolded. The laughter and excitement swirled around her but felt distant, muffled by a growing sense of dread. She glanced at Emily, who had been radiant just hours ago, but now the corners of her mouth hung heavy, as if the necklace had tethered her spirit to the suffocating weight of the past. Was she really serving her son or stifling his future? The rehearsal had turned chaotic when the conversation turned to traditions. An innocent comment about Emily's grandmother's lineage had spiraled into an echoing silence that set off alarms in Sarah's mind. Sarah felt the question rise within her, threatening to rupture the already fragile dynamics that hovered between them. Did Emily understand the implications of her heritage? Struggling to shake the spiraling thoughts, Sarah drifted to the side of the bustling room. Guests chatted and exchanged pleasantries, but she couldn't join in. Her mind replayed moments from the past and present, bonds formed and frayed. Trust had once flourished like wildflowers until the conflicts of history had calibrated their new relationship with suspicion. As the night wore on, Sarah found herself alone, responding with automatic nods while lost in contemplation. While the world around her danced in celebration, she clung to the husk of her fears. What did it mean for her family's name to blend with this new legacy? Wasn't he part of her responsibility nurturing a safe path for Jack? Quietly, she removed herself to the patio, desperate for fresh air. Out on the porch, Sarah's eyes drifted to the stars twinkling above, and she let herself indulge in introspection. As a child, she had never feared what lay beyond. She had embraced the unknown like a brave explorer. Yet now, every ghost from her family's past echoed through that childhood bravery. She remembered the stories her parents had told her, stories that were full of pain, loss, and triumph. How could she reconcile those memories with the potential future of her son? Determining to be proactive, she realized that understanding Emily's world, its traditions, its truths, was the only way forward. Would it require confronting her own preconceptions? Perhaps. Accepting this new family would not just be an act of love but investment in healing the old wounds. The decision solidified Sarah's resolve as the rehearsal came to a close. She would speak with Emily, not from a place of judgment but with a spirit of inquiry. There was strength in understanding, and while it might ignite a fray, it also offered an opportunity for unity. If they could untangle the threads of their pasts, maybe they could weave something stronger for the future. As she turned to rejoin the festivities, she saw Emily standing there, framed by dim patio lights, a mixture of hope and anxiety etched across her features. The moment hung heavy, pregnant with possibilities yet tremulous with unanswered questions. Before she could walk over and break the fragile quiet that lingered, the door swung wide, and Jack appeared, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing beside him. He laughed, inviting them back inside, blissfully ignorant of the cracks forming beneath their familial facade. Sarah's heart raced. They stood at the precipice of something transformative, but were they ready to leap together? The wedding looming ahead wasn't merely a celebration, it beckoned a confrontation of truths they had both carefully skirted. Sarah could sense the urgency now pulsing within her. Could they embrace the discomfort of their histories to forge a new legacy? Soon, she would need to confront everything that had been left unsaid. In that instant, the stakes rose higher. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to settle the anxious thoughts swirling in her mind as she walked back inside. The laughter and chatter of the gathering felt like a tidal wave crashing against her ideals. She was supposed to be celebrating, yet an unseen gravity pulled her toward the reality that lay just beneath the surface. As she spotted Emily again, a knot tightened in her stomach. The lingering question of heritage seemed to flicker between them like a beckoning flame. The tension of unspoken words hung in the air. She could almost feel the weight of Emily's past pressing down upon them both. Sarah hesitated, caught between the urge to push for clarity and the fear of unraveling the delicate fabric of their relationship. "Hey, Sarah. Come join us." A voice from the corner interrupted her thoughts. It was one of Jack's friends, playfully engaging a group in a toast. Laughter erupted, pulling Sarah back into the moment. But as she raised her glass, she realized her own spirit felt far from celebratory. The dissonance between her external composure and internal turmoil echoed her struggle for understanding. After the toast, she sought solace by the food table, the mouth-watering aroma temporarily distracting her. With the naive enthusiasm of youth circling around her, she bit into a pastry, but the sweetness felt hollow. She glanced at Emily from a distance, her heart clenched at seeing the genuine joy on her future daughter-in-law's face. That joy was a stark contrast to the uncertainty gnawing at her own heart. What if Emily's heritage wasn't merely a relic to be scrutinized but a vibrant tapestry to celebrate? Wasn't that what she wanted for Jack, a future illuminated by love, acceptance, and respect? The inner turmoil transformed into a resolve. Not tonight. Tonight would be a celebration, but starting tomorrow, she would embark on that journey of understanding. As the evening stretched forward, Sarah gravitated toward Jack. Watching him laugh and joke with his friends sparked an ember of hope. She wanted to be the mother who supported him in every choice, even those that diverged from her comfort zone. But how could she do that if she could not understand the world he was about to marry into? "We should do something together this week," Sarah said to Jack, her voice steady, though the weight of intention weighed down her tone. "Maybe you can help me learn more about Emily's traditions?" Jack's brows knitted together momentarily. "Sure, Mom." "It could be fun," he replied, but she sensed an undercurrent of uncertainty in his eyes. Was he aware of the depths of her concerns? Playing the role of the supportive parent meant she had to accept that Emily was deserving of her love and respect. They would talk, she decided. Not about culture immediately, but about dreams, families, and hopes. As the party gradually dissolved into the softness of late-night chatter, Sarah found herself standing by a window, gazing out at the moonlight illuminating the garden below. The reflection was revealing. She caught sight of Emily approaching, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her features as she reached Sarah's side. "Hey," Emily said softly, a tentative bridge extended between their worlds. "Can we talk?" Everything in Sarah's being wanted to step forward, to meet Emily's gaze, to embrace the questions that dwelled between them. But the moment crackled with tension. It was now or never, the leap awaited them both. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, sensing the gravity of their upcoming exchange. What truths awaited them in the silence? Tomorrow sprung to life with the promise of confrontation, but tonight, it was the quiet before the storm. The stakes had been raised, and every word would matter. The next morning, Sarah awoke with a start, memories of last night's conversations swirling in her mind like a maelstrom. The lingering scent of breakfast wafted through the house, yet the thought of Emily weighed heavier than the smell of frying bacon. She had decided to embark on this journey of understanding, not only for Jack and Emily but also for herself. The choice to confront her discomfort now loomed before her like an impending storm. As she made her coffee, her fingers trembled slightly. Today was the day she would explore the unfamiliar waters of Emily's heritage. Thoughts crowded her mind. What if she inadvertently offended Emily? What if her questions came across as intrusive rather than genuine curiosity? The fear of misunderstanding pinned her with uncertainty. Yet, at the core of it was a longing, a desire to connect deeply and authentically. Once Jack left for the day, Sarah took a deep breath and texted Emily, proposing they meet for coffee. After a moment's anxious pause, the response came almost instantly, "I'd love that. How about the cafe on Maple?" The prospect of that meeting ignited both excitement and dread. Dressed and ready, she found herself navigating through traffic with a newfound sense of purpose. With each block, she rehearsed how to break the ice, mentally outlining every possible exchange, every probing question, every potential reaction. In truth, this was not just a conversation about Emily's culture but also a confrontation of Sarah's own insecurities. The cafe was bustling when she arrived, the lively chatter of customers creating a comforting backdrop. Sarah spotted Emily by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup, as she gazed outside, seemingly lost in thought. The moment Sarah approached, Emily looked up, and a warm but tentative smile broke across her face, a crack in what had felt like impenetrable tension. "Thanks for coming," Emily said, motioning for Sarah to sit. "Of course," Sarah replied, her voice unexpectedly firm. "I'm ready to learn. Can we start there?" Emily raised an eyebrow, surprise flickering in her gaze. "You really want to know about my background?" "Absolutely," Sarah assured her, a sense of urgency starting to replace her earlier anxieties. "I think understanding where you come from will help us all." The conversation began cautiously, with Emily recounting stories from her childhood, the rituals and celebrations that shaped her upbringing. Sarah listened intently, absorbing every detail as Emily's words painted a vivid picture. As Emily spoke of her family's traditions, the nostalgia in her voice carried a weight that transcended cultural boundaries. Sarah found herself not only empathizing but also reflecting on her own family stories. However, the conversation stalled when the topic turned to the wedding. "I want to include my family traditions," Emily confessed. "But I can't shake the feeling that it might divide us. I don't want to alienate you or Jack." The reality of their cultural differences shimmered between them, like sunlight slicing through clouds. Here it was this uncomfortable truth lay bare. The moment hung, thick with vulnerability on both sides. I don't want you to feel that way, Sarah said gently, reaching across the table. Your culture, your family, it means something deeply important. It should be celebrated. As the tension began to lift, Sarah realized this wasn't just about integrating traditions. It was a challenge of identities and acceptance, an examination of values that were fiercely personal. But resilience sparked within her, flooding her with courage. Emily's gaze softened. Really? You're open to that? More than ever, Sarah affirmed, courage blossoming with each word. But I need your guidance. I want to be more than just accepted, I want to be part of it. Suddenly, an unexpected twist in the dialogue struck Sarah, as Emily hesitated, weighing her next words carefully. Sarah, there is something you should know, something about my heritage that has never come up. The simple fact hinted at profound complexity, igniting an urgency within Sarah. Like a fleeting ember at dusk. She leaned in, acutely aware that this moment was pivotal, a new layer of understanding awaited. What truth lay beneath Emily's hesitant expression? How would it change everything they had begun to build this morning? The revelation hung in the air, electric and undeniable, and Sarah prepared to confront whatever awaited her. Sarah felt her heart race as she awaited Emily's next words. The cafe noises around them faded into a dull hum, the vibrant clinking of cups and murmur of conversation now a mere backdrop to the charged silence between the two women. Emily's eyes flickered with a mix of apprehension and determination, and Sarah braced herself for whatever revelation was about to unfold. It's about my family's history, Emily began, her voice barely above a whisper. There are parts of it that are complicated. Parts that I've kept hidden even from Jack. The gravity of those words struck Sarah, deepening her interest while simultaneously tightening the knot of anxiety in her stomach. Hidden? Sarah echoed, trying to keep her tone steady. What do you mean? Emily took a deep breath, her fingers fidgeting with the rim of her cup. My family's immigration story isn't just about moving from one place to another. It's tangled with loss, tradition, and expectations. My grandmother, she faced a lot to preserve our culture, but not all of it was good. She paused again, weighing the impact of her admission. Sometimes, we had to sacrifice parts of our identity to be accepted. Sarah's mind raced. The implication of Emily's words widened her understanding of the challenges embedded in their intertwining lives. It wasn't enough to simply accept and integrate traditions. Sarah had to confront the implications of those sacrifices. The determination growing within her fought against the remnants of her earlier fears. Could she understand the weight of Emily's burdens? What kind of sacrifices? She asked, her curiosity and concern lending strength to her voice. Emily closed her eyes for a fleeting moment, gathering herself. My family had to let go of certain practices deemed unacceptable here. They felt it was the only way to survive. But those choices left scars. As much as we want to celebrate who we are, there's a darkness tied to it, a sense of betrayal to our roots. Sarah's heart ached for Emily, understanding now that this journey was not one of mere curiosity but of healing and solidarity. That must be incredibly hard to carry, she said, letting empathy guide her words. It is. And it makes me scared because I don't want to disappoint my family, but I also don't want Jack in my future to feel like another sacrifice, Emily confessed, her voice trembling slightly. Your family should see how much you care about honoring your heritage, even if it looks different, Sarah urged. If we're to build a future together, transparency and acceptance are vital. But I need you to feel strong enough to share that with me. Slowly, Emily met Sarah's gaze, her eyes glistening with unspoken fears and the weight of legacy. Sarah, what if they don't accept me? What if they see me as not enough? I fear that my choices might fracture not just my family but the bond I'm trying to create with Jack. The tension between them morphed into the acknowledgement of an unresolved struggle. Sarah felt an upsurge of a newfound sense of agency within herself, understanding this moment as a crucible for both women. You won't be alone in this. I want to be there to support you, not just as Jack's future wife but as a friend grappling with the same fears. With those words, a silent pact began to form. The potential for connection transformed into an active quest for shared strength and resilience. Let us work through this together, Sarah proposed, firming her resolve. Let us revisit those traditions, understand the complexities, and carve a new path that honors where we come from. Emily nodded, a hint of relief weaving into her expression. The conversation opened doors neither had anticipated, forcing them into the vulnerable light of authenticity. But just as a sense of hope began to emerge, Emily's lips tightened, and she added, "But before we can do that, there's one more thing you need to know about my heritage that might change everything." The air thickened, charged with the weight of new possibilities and uncharted territories. What Emily was about to reveal formed a precipice, teetering between resolution and chaos. Sarah leaned in, prepared to traverse whatever new depths would unfurl before her. How would this last truth reshape her journey and the bond they were beginning to forge? As the cafe buzzed quietly around them, Sarah's anticipation mounted. She could see the internal battle raging in Emily's eyes, a mix of fear and resolve. Every second felt stretched, heavy with the weight of yet another unknown. The moment was poised, teetering as Emily took a deep breath, her hesitation palpable. "Okay," Emily finally said, her voice steadied as if she had just made a pact with herself. "There's something about my grandmother that I never shared, not even with Jack. She didn't just navigate cultural sacrifices. She hid something much darker and indiscretion that shaped not only her life but ours." The gravity of Emily's words drew Sarah closer, her mind whirring with possibilities. What could have been so significant that it had been buried for generations? "My grandmother had a relationship with a man outside of her marriage. It was during a time when her family was struggling with integration. To them, her actions were a betrayal not just of her husband but of everything their family stood for. The shame spiraled through the generations. It's been a silent ghost, an unresolved conflict that haunts us." Sarah felt a tightness in her chest. Something about the act of betrayal weighed heavily on Emily. It was evident that this hidden truth was a barricade in her path to authentic connection with herself and her family. "How did this affect your family dynamics?" she asked gently, recognizing that this was a moment of exposure. "Ever since then, we've had a reputation to uphold. My mother always drilled into me the need to conform, to suppress any whims that could cause a rift. I realized that her fear was born from this family legacy, fear of losing acceptance, fear of betrayal repeating itself." Emily's voice broke, and she glanced away, as if confronting the pain within. "Do you think that fear is what makes you hesitate now?" Sarah leaned in further, eager to uncover the layers of Emily's psyche. "You talked about not wanting to disappoint your family, about Jack not seeing you as enough. Is it possible these feelings are rooted in your grandmother's history?" Emily nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "It is. I feel like I'm facing this weight trying to carve a future while dragging their past with me. Sometimes I think maybe their fears will become mine if I act out of line. That's the core of it, isn't it?" The cafe swirled around them, the chatter now distant as Sarah absorbed the weight of Emily's truth. This was more than a family secret, it was a generational burden that needed recognition. "Maybe facing this past is what you need to break free," Sarah suggested, searching for a supportive framework that could both honor Emily's lineage and allow her to embrace her individuality. "But it requires strength to confront the stories that shaped you." For the first time, Emily held Sarah's gaze with clarity. "And maybe that declaration is what I feared the most," she admitted, her voice gathering momentum. "I haven't been honest with myself about what I truly want. It's not just about the past, it's about unlocking the future." In that moment, the urgency of their discussion shifted. Sarah realized that Emily's journey and her own were interwoven in this pursuit of honesty and freedom. Their paths were opening to new possibilities, one where mutual support could redefine the very essence of family and tradition. "What are you going to do about it?" Sarah asked, her own heart racing with a fierce desire for both women to step into their truths. "I need to confront my family," Emily declared, her resolve crystallizing. "I need to rewrite the narrative and own my path moving forward." As they both processed the weight of this newfound courage, the air seemed to shimmer with potential. But just as Sarah felt a sense of collective momentum building, Emily's expression shifted, her confidence wavering. "But what if confronting them reveals more than I can handle?" she whispered, the uncertainty creeping back into her voice. The unresolved tension tinged the air once more, a reminder that the journey ahead would not be straightforward. Sarah reflected on her own upcoming choices in the face of this complexity, the path toward mutual empowerment now fraught with internal conflict. Then we will face it together, no matter the cost, Sarah reassured her, determination igniting within her. They both understood that the moment of truth was approaching, poised to challenge everything they thought they knew about family, identity, and themselves. What were the consequences of confronting those hidden truths, and could their bond withstand the revelations yet to come? Emily spent the next few days wrestling with her decision, the weight of her grandmother's secret pressing on her shoulders relentlessly. Every conversation with her mother, every casual gathering with her family, felt like a rehearsal for the inevitable confrontation that loomed ahead. She could feel the energy in the air shift. It was as if her body had become a vessel for the unspoken truths that threatened to spill over. In the stillness of her apartment, she picked up her journal, pages filled with fragmented thoughts and fleeting moments of clarity. Writing had always been her escape, a hidden sanctuary where she could express the turmoil softly, like a whisper in the night. But now, those whispers were becoming urgent pleas for acknowledgement. The words surfaced from the depths of her conflicted heart. How do you break a cycle that seems inescapable? How do you reconcile the past without repeating its mistakes? Each sentence reflected Emily's growing determination to explore the buried corners of her truth, a truth that deserved to see the light. As she prepared for her family dinner, a recurring picture flickered in her mind, a scene of laughter and happiness colored by an undercurrent of tension. There, amidst the warmth of family, she could feel her own truth hidden behind masked smiles. It was almost palpable, the collective breath held tightly against spoken fears. Questions echoed, could she step into the light of her own authenticity? Sarah's words resonated in her thoughts like a mantra. You need to be honest with yourself. It was more than a suggestion, it felt like an urgent call to action that stirred something deep within her. When the evening arrived, Emily sat surrounded by her family, each familiar face a reminder of the lineage she was poised to challenge. As conversations flowed, casual and light, she felt the shadows of their expectations loom larger. Her mother animatedly recounted tales of their family, carefully avoiding any mention of the grandmother's hidden past, perhaps out of fear, guilt, or both. You seem quiet tonight, her mother observed, eyes narrowing with concern. Emily's heart raced, her instinct screaming to retreat, yet she proceeded to challenge the very fabric of their narrative. Can we talk about Grandma? She asked, her voice steady despite the tremor within. The room fell silent, forks halting mid-air, as her family caught the weight of the question like an unsteady anchor in rough waters. Is something wrong? Her mother replied, though her eyes darted with the discomfort of evasion. No, Mom. It's about something I want to uncover. About who we are and what we've avoided discussing, Emily stated, feeling a rush of adrenaline as she seized this moment. I can't carry this fear anymore. Not if it means losing myself in the process. A flicker of surprise crossed her father's face while her mother's expression warped into disbelief. In that split second, Emily's courage crystallized. The room pulsed with disbelief, rippling through familial bonds that had kept them tethered in silence for years. What do you mean? Her father finally asked, the tone laced with desperation to quash the discomfort. I mean the stories we've kept buried. The shame of Grandma's choices that we faced, Emily pressed, undeterred. What if instead of hiding from these truths, we embraced them? I refuse to let fear define me. I want to own my path, not just for myself, but for the generations that follow. Every word laced within the fabric of her family dynamic set off a chain reaction within her. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, sparking a sense of liberation. Emily felt the tether that once bound her to generational fear begin to fray, unraveling one thread at a time. But just as she sensed a breakthrough, her mother's face hardened, an embodiment of her own buried fears. You don't know what you're asking for, her mother warned, the softness of her voice now sharpened with urgency. Bringing this up could destroy us. A chill darted through the room, and Emily braced herself for the storm that was about to ensue. Yet she stood firm, no longer willing to let the shadows dictate the narrative of her family. I can't go back. I won't go back, she declared with newfound resolve, each word a testament to her strength. With the stakes increasingly high, the confrontation loomed larger, and Emily wondered had she set the stage for healing or for further fracture? The tension thickened around them, but there was no turning back now. The truth had started to unravel, and in that moment, the future of her family began to pivot on the brink of revelation. Would this crucial dialogue forge a new legacy, or would it risk collapsing under the weight of unspoken fears? The moment of truth was at hand, teetering precariously between hope and uncertainty. Emily's heart raced as the air thickened with tension, a palpable reminder of everything left unsaid. The room felt smaller, pressing in on her, as if the very walls conspired to silence her. She could feel the turmoil bubbling inside her like a storm waiting to erupt, and every second stretched on unnaturally as she awaited her family's response. Her mother's expression shifted, yet the tightness in her jaw suggested a fierce battle within. You think we can just dredge up our past and everything will be fine? Her mother spat, the sting of her words slicing through the delicate atmosphere. Some things are better left unspoken. A quiver of anger shot through Emily. She wanted to push back, to prove that confronting their family's truth was not just possible but essential for healing. Mom, how can we expect to move forward when we're anchored to our secrets? This isn't just about Grandma, it's about us, about how we live and love in this family. Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief, glancing at her husband as if seeking validation or perhaps a reprieve, but her father remained silent. The weight of that silence screamed louder than any words could. A sense of conviction washed over Emily, urging her to forge ahead, to take her stand. Look, I know the fear is real. But I refuse to let it define us. Don't you want a future where we're genuine with one another, where we can actually talk about our struggles without shame? The quiet intensity of her proclamation reached beyond her family's apparent fear, catching hold of something deeper. Emily felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of a necessary reckoning. Her father finally spoke, his voice low. You think this is easy for us? You're stirring up things we've carried for years. You're asking us to expose wounds that might not heal. Dad, that's precisely why we need to talk about them. Emily asserted, shaking off the doubt that crept in. Her determination solidified, sharpening her focus. It's not about blaming anyone, it's about understanding the choices made, learning from them, and creating a healthier legacy. We're strong enough to face this together. I believe that. Every word ignited a spark within her. Emily could feel the fire of her own conviction surging ahead. Yet she sensed the hesitance lingering like a shadow. Her mother looked lost, battling between instinct and the fear of what lay ahead. If we don't confront this now, we're bound to the same fears Grandma knew. I refuse to let that happen to me or to my children, Emily continued, her voice steadier. Each syllable carried the weight of her personal transformation, a pivot from fear to empowerment. This was not simply an act of defiance, it was an assertion of her right to protect her own future. A tense silence fell over the room, thick with unresolved emotions. Emily's heart thudded in her chest, the moment stretching indefinitely, caught in the balance between anxiety and hope. Finally, her mother spoke, her voice wavering yet tinged with reluctance. What if the truth is worse than we remember? What if it frays our family further apart? There's only one way to know, Emily answered, her pulse quickening. We have to unearth the truth together, whatever it may be. If we don't, we're losing more than just the past, we're losing each other. In that moment, a new realization hit Emily: this journey would not be a solo endeavor. It required the entire family to step away from fear, to embrace vulnerability and the possibility of growth. The weight of realization settled on her like a cloak. She understood that her fight was not merely for her own liberation but for her family's collective healing. And as the path stretched out before her, she couldn't help but wonder, could they truly come together, shedding the layers of fear, or was this confrontation merely the beginning of deeper divides? Just as her mother opened her mouth to respond, Emily felt a shift in the air, a burgeoning tension that promised revelation. The future of their family dangled precariously, ready to pivot in an unexpected direction. What would they uncover in the shadows of their shared history? The seconds dragged on like hours, the air thick with unspoken fears and unresolved emotions. Emily braced herself for any response, fully aware that the moment required courage, not just from her, but from every soul present. The stillness screamed for change. She felt the intensity rise, pushing her towards something profound, something necessary. "Emily," her mother finally said, her tone laced with uncertainty, "I don't know if I can revisit those memories." "They're painful and they're important," Emily interrupted, raising her voice slightly. Late in life, she had learned that strength often danced closely with vulnerability. "Look, avoiding the past hasn't protected us. It's just made our scars fester. If we can lay everything out on the table, maybe we can begin to heal." The walls felt like they were closing in, and yet Emily remained grounded in her purpose. Year after year of watching her family sweep anger and sadness under the rug had left her feeling suffocated. This moment was her chance to breathe, to share the responsibility of their collective history, a burden that shouldn't rest solely on her shoulders. "Do you really think we can change anything?" her father asked, the skepticism in his voice cutting through her resolve. "What if we dig up nothing but more pain? Then at least we're acknowledging it. Ignoring it hasn't helped, Dad. It just makes us weaker." Emily could hardly recognize the assertiveness in her own voice. This was beyond just a family discussion. It was a transformation of identity, an evolution of self that she had been silently orchestrating for years. She realized that claiming her voice was as much about her as it was about them. Silence lingered again, heavy but not suffocating. Emily began to feel interminably nervous, her breathing quickening. What had begun as a simple conversation had pushed her to an unfamiliar realm of introspection and revelation. Was it courage or desperation that fueled her now? She felt raw. She needed to break open that dam. Whatever lay beyond it had to be worth the turmoil. "Mom, think about all those silent dinners we've had," she said softly, turning to her mother, trying to find empathy in her stern expression. "Each time we pretended everything was fine, we lost a chance to truly connect. I don't want relationships built on lies anymore." As Emily spoke, she felt tendrils of doubt weave their way into her bravado. What if her mother could never come around? What if she was standing alone in this battle? Can we even trust the truth? Her mother whispered, finally breaking eye contact. This admission left a bittersweet taste in Emily's mouth. It was as if a door had cracked open just a fraction. "Trust can't grow in the dark," Emily pressed on, eyes brightening with the weight of her purpose. "We can build something real if we face the shadows together." This dialogue was more than a mere exchange, it was a dance on the precipice of vulnerability. Each step forward unlocked deeper layers of her familial ties. As her words resonated, Emily sensed a subtle shift. The shadows of unacknowledged pain trembled at the surface, revealing fissures of potential healing. "Can we try?" her mother finally asked, her voice trembling with a mix of resignation and hope. Emily felt the walls shift. She could see a glint of possibility in her mother's eyes. "That's all I'm asking for," she exhaled, relief flooding through her as tentative connections began to form. But as they steeled themselves for a conversation that could change everything, a ring of the doorbell echoed sharply through the quiet. It broke the moment like glass, pulling their attention away from their intimate revelation. Who could that be? "Maybe it's just a neighbor," her father suggested, but Emily's heart raced again. She couldn't shake the sensation that this interruption was a defining moment. Was it merely a coincidence, or did it signify another layer of conflict ready to surface? "Let us see where it leads," she replied, bracing herself for whatever might come through that door. The journey of truth had only just begun, and with it, the specter of new revelations loomed near. Could she still navigate the turbulent waters of her family's truth, or would this unassuming visitor complicate the fragile threads of connection she had begun to weave? The door swung open, revealing a figure that made all their hearts skip a beat. It was Jack, Emily's fiancé, with an excited smile lighting up his face. "Hey, I thought I'd surprise you all," he announced, blissfully unaware of the charged atmosphere coiling in the room. His entrance was both a welcome distraction and a momentary reprieve, a reminder of the joyful future they were working to build amidst the weight of a troubling past. Emily caught her mother's eye, deferring her anxieties for a split second, ready to ease back into the comfort of familial camaraderie. Jack stepped inside, bringing warmth and light, pulling them from the precipice of raw confrontation. But the odd silence that enveloped them indicated that the unresolved tensions still lingered, waiting like coiled serpents beneath the surface. "Jackson!" her mother exclaimed, quickly wrapping her arms around him, a gesture that felt comforting yet strained. He sensed the disconnection and looked from one face to the other, curiosity flashing in his eyes. "What is going on here?" he asked, detecting the heaviness in the air. They were teetering on the edge of monumental realignment, and Jack's presence was both a blessing and a complication. Emily turned to him, her heart pounding, feeling the weight of her unresolved conversation pressing against her chest. In that moment, realization dawned. This was not just about her family's buried legacy, but about the future she and Jack were preparing to build. Would she take the risk of keeping him in the dark? Or would she invite him into this intense process of understanding and healing? "Jack," Emily began, her voice tentative but determined, "we were just talking about Grandma and some family history we really need to unpack." Jack's brow furrowed, and he took a step closer. "What about it? What is going on?" There was concern in his tone, the loving freeness that had always marked their relationship, trust untainted by suspicion. Swallowing hard, Emily took a breath, feeling the room pulse with anticipation. "It's complicated, but I think it might change how we see all of this together, our wedding, our future." The truth hung in the balance, a transformative threshold just footsteps away. Emily felt a surge of courage once again. This wasn't just her battle, it was their future entwined in a web defined by authenticity and commitment. "Every moment, every choice we make will reflect who we are as a family. I want you to understand that I'm trying to embrace our past, not run from it." Jack's gaze softened, acknowledging the uncharted territory they were poised to navigate. "Let us tackle it together," he responded, his voice a reassuring anchor amidst the tides of uncertainty. With that, Emily felt the tension ease slightly. As Jack engaged with her parents, bringing levity into the room, Emily grasped the enormity of what was unfolding. She was not just tearing down walls that separated her from her family. She was creating new paths for Jack alongside ties forged through history. Her mother, sensing the shift in the air, hesitated before rejoining the conversation, curiosity bubbling on the edges of her anxiety. "Emily," she started, her tone gentler this time, "you're right. We've brushed too much under the rug, haven't we?" For the first time, she saw a glimmer of acknowledgement in her mother's eyes, a sign that they could face their shared legacies not as burdens, but as stepping stones toward a more authentic existence. It was an opening of sorts, and Emily seized it. "How about we all come together?" Emily suggested, newfound vibrance in her voice. "Let us dive into this uncertainty together." The air lightened, filled with burgeoning possibilities, the specter of fragmentation beginning to fade. The dialogue that followed blurred the edges of familial expectations and outdated narratives. Each person's truth unfurled like blossoms, blossoming across the table, weaving a complex tapestry enriched by all of their experiences. They began sharing family stories, discussing choices made from love, brokenness, and compromise. Jack regularly interjected with affection, reiterating how loved ones could encapsulate flaws, yet still honor what love asked of them. With every layer peeled back, Emily saw not only how they could redefine their roles within the fold, but how she could embrace her strength as well. She wasn't just stepping forward, she was becoming an architect of legacy. As the conversation ebbed and flowed, what began as a daunting confrontation evolved into a shared commitment to authenticity. Emily felt her heart expand, priding herself on her courage to bridge the past with the present, resilient enough to let their new foundation stand strong against the waves of ancestry. By the end of the evening, she emerged with clarity. She would shape her own identity by nurturing the ties that resonated with truth and honest engagement. The delight of this revelation thundered within her. The past no longer shackled her, nor did it stem the rich stories waiting to bloom under the warmth of understanding, and as Jack squeezed her hand, a promise resonated in the space between them. They would journey through love and recognition of the past, uniting their future without the anchors of fear. In that transformative moment, Emily recognized the magnitude of her decisions. She stood at a deeper understanding of her identity, woven closely with her family and the future that beckoned, determined to carry forward a story that would never shy away from its truth. This was her redefinition, a striking testament to courage, love, and the belief that strength comes not from avoiding vulnerability but from embracing it head-on. As light poured into the house the following morning, Emily stood by the window, gazing outside. She had fought for this knowledge, for clarity that might seem elusive in the shadows, but now it glimmered in the light of the new day, a victory of self-reflection and inner alignment. This was her achievement, not just confronting the past, but doing so with profound openness and a heart ready to accept the beauty of duality. Now, she would take these lessons into her wedding, intertwining them into a celebration of love that honored every strand of their entangled histories while ushering in a future defined by warmth and understanding. Finally, feeling satisfied and empowered, Emily turned with resolve, ready to face whatever came next. And now, dear viewers, it's time for you to step into your own journey of growth. You need to subscribe now to join us for more exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Remember, it makes a difference. Comment with your reactions and theories about Emily's journey towards healing her family's legacy. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how confronting the past can transform their future. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel. Your participation is crucial in spreading these powerful stories.